Okay, so this is the Chronarch 100SF. If you have them, you're intimately familiar with them. I don't know if you've broken them down before. I have once or twice in the course of 7-8 years, but there are quite a few parts in here, and so I'm going to break it down for you and show the location of the bearings. This particular reel, I'll be replacing 5 of them, and let's have a little pre-test here to take a look at the freeness of the spool. Still not terrible, but nothing like it was originally. And this is with the anti-backlash completely off, and there's some play in the spool. Okay, and then as I'm replacing all 5, I want to overall smoothness as well, so we'll take a look at the line guide, and I just wanted to see how it moves comparably to when all the bearings been replaced. Like 7.5. Okay, so let's break it down. I like to get the spool out of the, or the handle out of the way right away. Seems to just interfere with everything. Keep everything in groups as we dig into here. It's going to fill up the plate here. Let's see how everything goes. These here 2 spacers, if you'll notice, they're acting against one another. They're not flush with one another. Okay. This is where location of one of the spool bearings is, and these little steel retainers, if you ever take them apart, you probably lost one as I have, so I just pop it out a little bit to get a hold of it, side to side. Another spacer, and then right there inside is what's holding the spool in place, that when you go to adjust your anti-backlash, it doesn't pop out as some of the other reels. And just pop it out of there. You get a hold of it. Okay, well, there's one bearing. All right, let's go to the other side. Be able to pop the spool out now. Now, in order to remove the right side of the reel, we've got 2 screws and 1 rod we've got to remove. So inside of here by the pinion gear, there are 2 screws and a retainer for the pinion gear. They need to come out, and that's the location of the pinion gear bearing, the largest gear in the package for this reel. Now up in the front of the reel by the worm gear, we need to remove this rod, that's the line guide, in order to pop the right side of the reel off to get at the other two bearings. Here, just let's remove the worm gear pawl. And there's a little spacer here, so don't lose this. Now this right side will pop off. Just insert something. There's a little keyway at the very bottom. And hold it tight because there are a couple springs in here. Pull it off straight. There you have the right side of the reel. Okay. Springs out of your way here so you don't lose them. And if you were to be replacing the drag washers, there's one drag washer right here, and the other one's below here. Okay. As far as bearings, move the rest of this. Here's one on the left side by the anti-backlash. Again, it's got its retainer. Pops out one bearing. Inside here, by the pinion gear right here, is the second bearing. It's one of the larger bearings. 2, 3 over here on the right side of the reel. This is for your cast control. Pops out. 3. The next ones are below the drive gear and the worm gear. So I have to break it down a little further to get those. If you were just to replace the spool bearings, as you can see, it would be pretty simple. You just pop the top off of the cast control, move the retainer, and a couple spacers, pull the bearing out, pop it all back together. The same on the anti-backlash side. But again, if you're going in there after 3 or 4 years, I figured I'd just tear it down and do it right. Alright, so we're going to have to remove this pinion gear. Don't look too bad in here, actually. There's your fourth bearing right there. And the fifth, I actually didn't know it existed, but it's right behind the worm gear here. And this is an important point right here. This all has to go back together like this before you place it back in the left side. And it's got a C-clip here that this here gear has a slot in it, if you'll notice. And as I pull it apart here, you can adjust it. It's got to be 90 out so it holds it in place. I'll show you. And twice I put it back together without it as one piece, and it's popped off and ate the gear. There's also a spacer here. And right there is your fifth bearing. You know, as I was saying, to get this off, it has a slot to pull it off, and before you put this all back together, make sure you rotate it 90 and it sets back in that recess, or it'll just pop off and get ate up. So there you have the 5 bearings, and the replacement bearings are very well packaged, very well. As you break it down and hold the bearings, are easily identifiable. You got a package of 2 there for the spool, both left and right. This larger one, again, let's go over there. The one in the pawl, it's a different thickness, which matches up right there. And the last one, thickness is the same right here. So they match up very easily. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go spray this down with some brake fluid and clean it up, and that about says it all. I'm going to clean it up, put it back together, and then we'll retest it. But putting it back together is just the same as taking apart, reverse order, and be back shortly. Okay, I'm back, and it's been completely rebuilt, cleaned up. All 5 bearings went in. They're exact replacements for the originals, and overall, just been playing. It feels really smooth. Everything's operating nicely. Let's give it a test here. there it is. Very impressed. Appreciate the quick delivery by Boca, and the bearings are obviously outstanding. They recommended oil, a light coat of oil or no oil. I didn't put any oil on these, and I have a whole other set of other reels that I'm surely going to buy some more Boca bearings. Probably I'll go with the 7s though. You know, it feels so good. Okay, well, good luck, you guys. Got any questions about breaking this particular reel down? I also have some Corrados. They're not quite as detailed as this one in Kawas, and I'm more than happy to help you. Thanks. Time for the Super Bowl.